Activists and the journalists. And I realize that I'm repeating myself there when I'm talking about the landscape here in Alberta. They just refuse to get this story right. The so-called book ban in Alberta,
Hmm.
where we've removed graphic materials from the elementary and junior high school libraries, um, sparked an overreaction. I wouldn't say it's an overreaction. I say it's a malicious obfuscation of the facts by the Edmonton Public School Board, where they then decided, if you're making us pull the porn off the shelves and the gender wang nonsense, we're going to pull 1984, The Handmaid's Tale, and a whole host of other things. And it has gotten so bad that Danielle Smith and Dimitrios Nikolaidos, our education minister, whose name is so fun to say, they've had to actually show these books in a press conference, realizing that like this is going to get us hit on YouTube if we show it, but we have to show it because you people won't stop lying. So let's get into Danielle Smith first. She says, I'm going to be more explicit than usual, so there is no misunderstanding this policy. Get pornographic images out of school libraries. Again, how is this controversial unless you're a sex activist psychopath? Leave the classics on the shelves. Nobody said get 1984 out of the classroom. In fact, I want 1984 in every classroom. And I'm really looking for someone on the left to read a book that isn't The Handmaid's Tale. They moved on to Handmaid's Tale after they decided they don't like the author behind Harry Potter, because that used to be the only other thing that they read. And she said, we all know the difference between items 1 and 2. Let's not play any more games in implementing this policy for our kids. I'm going to go to Wyatt. Wyatt, I think it's absolutely outlandish that she had to do this. But I think it's a symptom of what she's up against in Alberta when it comes to dealing with the left and dealing with the journalists who I don't see a distinguishment between the two anymore.
Well, and what you used the right word earlier on when you said malicious. Specifically, what the Edmonton Board of Education is doing is engaging in what you would call either the practitioner's veto or more specifically malicious compliance. That they've been told to take inappropriate books off the shelves, and so they're going to read between all the lines that are not there in the order and just say, well, we have to ban 200 books. Well, we just have to ban all this stuff because there's something sexually inappropriate in it, even though leading up to the actual ministerial order being put out, it was clarified over and over again, and common sense would have told you that yes, maybe a child in grade 3 shouldn't be reading The Handmaid's Tale, but that's fine for high school students. What we want to get off the shelves is things that are overtly offensive, no matter what age you are to be reading, and things that are not age appropriate for children in elementary school or in middle school. But again, and you have all the journalists just reporting it straight, like, oh, this is a consequence of the book ban. Like, it's not a book ban. It's like saying we have an alcohol ban because you have to be 18 years old to drink. We have a driving ban because you need a driver's license. You have to be over the age of 14 and 16 to get your learners and your full driver's license. It's completely ridiculous. And none of the journalists ever ask the question, why is this only coming out of the most woke school district in the entire province of, like, the Edmonton School Board is doing this, not Central Alberta, Southern Alberta, Northern Alberta, Calgary. None of the other ones decide to do this. Only the people who are going to be most in line with the ATA did this.
You know, Wyatt, I appreciate your glass half full attitude when you don't ascribe malice to when you're just clearly describing idiocy to the journalists. But I saw this firsthand on the day of this announcement. We all got the embargoed documents well in advance. We saw the graphic materials. It was in the embargoed documents. We were able to prep our stories. We were able to look at this pornography. And the moment those stories went live, they were wrong. And the journalists misled the public from the very beginning, so much so that on the very day of the original announcement, they had to release another press release telling the media to correct their erroneous reporting that was completely misleading the public So I wish that I could be like you, where where I'm just like, no, they're all just pleasant little idiots. I saw it firsthand what a bunch of sinister liars the media is. Angelica, you're a little bit closer in age to all of this than I am, unless, you know, like I have one high schooler left. Thank God, she's almost done. But you know, like you've been exposed to activist teachers, and you know, this is not something that the UCP are making up or blowing up and saying, well, we found one of these books in one school, and so we have to write a policy about it. This is very real and live and happening now.
Very much is. I actually did a tour of my old high school a couple months back, and I walked through the social studies wing, and I saw new posters that were put up all over the halls, and some of which were the communism poster. And I immediately knew I definitely got out of there at the right time because these students are being indoctrinated. 100%.
Now, Lisa, I'll go to you on this. Our education minister, who's been so good on this, he at first he didn't say, he just said these books were found in schools, but that wasn't good enough for these people. And actually, I'm kind of glad it wasn't good enough for these people, because now we know exactly the schools that they were in, where they were found, and what books were found. So careful what you wish for, jerks, because you just might get it. And now we've got parents who can walk into a school and say, your school, my school's on the list, get your gender wang book off the shelf. You've had a bit of a personal experience, or at least you've been somewhat aware of these materials being in Saskatchewan schools.
Oh yeah, and it's incredible that the government of Alberta has to go and fact check the mainstream media because they can't be bothered to get off their narrative train. But when we're talking about purging inappropriate and explicit and completely well, I guess inappropriate material for little kids, for every book that the government of Alberta is purging, there are at least 1,000 digital resources that are floating through the system. And so just to give you an example of this, I sent this to the team earlier yesterday, but during Pride season, I have an example of a digital library for Pride season right here.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was sent to students on an internal messaging platform. It's a Pride library. See it? It's just full of bright colors, and you know, this would attract little eyes. Well, every single one of the books on that bookshelf that you can see linked to a YouTube Kids video that the kid could just click on and then have the Pride book read to the kid. And so this isn't just an issue of purging it out of libraries, because we know libraries are infested with this kind of content, but it's actually taking a 360-degree look at the entire curriculum, how queer theory is being pushed to our kids. We're talking in math, in science, in art, in phys ed, in every aspect of school, and getting it out. And I don't think that this look at library books even goes far enough, because I don't think children should be exposed to content that that doesn't align with the values and beliefs of their parents. Okay, that's not what school is for. So good on the government of Alberta on getting on this, and I look forward to the government of Saskatchewan doing the same.
Yeah, me too. Let's go, just last item on this topic. Margaret Atwood, author of The Handmaid's Tale, the favorite book of the oppressed feminists on the left, and they're LARPing. She had the absolute worst boomer take of all, because she didn't actually stop to consider that she should maybe fact check the journalists and find out that her book hadn't actually been banned, but teachers did it out of pout and spite. So she released a short story. She wrote a short story for 17-year-olds about two very, very good children named John and Mary, since her award-winning book was no longer suitable for some Alberta schools. And let's be clear, that's because librarians and teachers were having a tantrum. And she writes that they never picked their noses or had bowel movements or zits. They grew up and married each other and produced 5 perfect children without ever having sex. And then she goes on to criticize Alberta Premier Daniel Smith, who has been supportive of the book ban, again, not a book ban, and compares her two characters in The Handmaid's Tale, a dystopian story that turned into a star-studded TV hit. I'll go to Wyatt.
Well, and this is one of those things where, yeah, the media is being purposely obtuse by acting like somehow Margaret Atwood is actually getting to the heart of this issue
Right.
in what she's doing. Like, no, she's not. She is frankly an old idled. Actually, she's not even a boomer. She's
Beyond.
she's the silent generation person still floating around trying to like insert herself into Alberta politics when she has no clue who even banned the book. She's saying Daniel Smith banned the book. It was, why isn't she going after the people on the Edmonton Board of Education, the people who actually did it? Again, this is malicious compliance. They know that this is what happens to Donald Trump a lot in his first administration.
Sure, yeah.
He gives an order, and then people will carry it out either incompetently, they will slow walk it, or they will do stuff in order to make it seem. This is actually exactly what happened to Ron DeSantis in Florida. He was getting these books taken off the shelves, and they're like, oh, this means the Bible has to go because
Right.
there is sexual content in the Bible. As if anyone meant that, not literal pornography being given to 7-year-olds. And Lisa's right. This is just a symptom of a greater problem. The fact that you can put the books in the libraries means, like in provinces like British Columbia and Ontario, and sadly at times in Alberta, you can have school counselors counseling children on how to socially transition and how to get access to medical medicine and pharmaceuticals in order to medically transition. This is a big deal in British Columbia because when people go after the books as the main problem, it's not the main problem, because that's actually what I've experienced in BC. Some people will be like, well, we just need to kind of clean up the library. I'm like, the library is the symptom. The good thing is Alberta, we're finally cracking down on it so much. We're getting to the point where it's maybe just the books that are the biggest problem at this point. But yeah, Margaret Atwood again. Margaret Atwood sounding off was the whole point of the Edmonton Board of Education doing this. They wanted to basically
right.
aggro a bunch of celebrities, so they were going to come out and get mad about it.
The celebrity buy-in is actually part of their process. We've seen this time. Sheila Gunn Reid, who was the actress from Orphan Black who was in Regina propping up the LGBTQIA shelter?
I can't remember
her name either. But getting the
B-lister.
celebrity onboarding is absolutely part of that process. But like Danielle Smith now knows the school board that she needs to fire because they showed her that they're incompetent. Okay, if they couldn't undertake this one little project without getting all bent out of shape, are they really capable of running one of the province's biggest school boards? I'd argue not. Fire them all, Danielle. Teach them a lesson.
Well, and it's so sorry, go ahead, Angelica. Go ahead.
I just think what's sensitive here is that they've actually weaponized parental concerns, because parents have brought up that they are unsatisfied with what's being shown in these books. And the school board has completely weaponized that, and then also weaponized the policy that Danielle Smith made to just, all she did was introduce real normal guidelines to keep schools safe and education safe. And they've completely turned that around.
Yeah, it's so dishonest, because the intent of getting this graphic erotica out of the hands of an 8-year-old, and nobody could actually confuse that unless they did it on purpose dishonestly. And now you know who those dishonest liars are. They work at the Edmonton Public School Board, and parents should be on notice.
This connects to as well to when the province rightfully banned biological males from competing in women's sports. And you will still have people today. I'm just going to name someone who definitely knows better, Professor Dwayne Bratt, somebody who is a policy expert, who just says, oh, they banned trans athletes. Do you mean that they are not letting males compete in female sports?
Right.
It's a different category of sports. You don't let different types of cars drive in different types of motorsports. It's almost like that there are advantages there. But he'll just say, oh, he banned trans athletes. Well, good job, Dwayne. I hope everyone in your class is learning lots.
Yeah. It's so, and I don't think Dwayne is stupid. I think he's being purposefully dishonest when he says those things.
I've taken multiple classes with him. I know he is smarter than this.